Generation is saying no to knitting, napping and nursing homes. Instead, they are embracing their third age. Third age being a phrase coined by our next guest. Honey Langcaster-James is a consultant psychologist who has written a report called The Death of Retirement. And Honey joins us now. Hello.
Good morning, how are you doing?
Oh yeah, well, thank you very much. So the death of retirement, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, the death of retirement has really come about because Standard Life did a piece of research that looked at the attitudes people have today towards retirement, and they found a really seismic shift in the way people view it. No longer do we see retirement as, something where we're going to draw back from life. In fact, the very word retirement comes from French retirer, to draw back, and we no longer see it that way at all. We see it as an opportunity. We see it as a part of our lives when we're going to do something else. In fact, many of us will spend close to a third of our lifetimes in retirement. And what the research found was that instead of just, wanting to sort of, go and live in a bungalow and do the gardening in our slippers, many of us actually want a lot more from life in that third age. Over half of us want to travel. Over half of us want more time with friends, family, those kinds of adventures. A third of people want to continue in work of some sort, but perhaps on their own terms, and another third maybe want to learn new skills, and even 1 in 20 may even want to start a new business venture. So a very industrious generation, certainly not a generation who want to draw back from life, but want to actually gain something else out of their third age.
And do you think some of this is because people are actually retiring at very different ages now?
Well, that's possibly, yes. I mean, there are certainly more options, aren't there, around that age that we stop work, traditional work. But I think there are lots of reasons for it as well. If you think about it, 20 or 30 years ago, certainly psychologically, people used to think about life in quite a different way. They used to think about sort of moving away from things that made them dissatisfied. So, they'd look forward to the day when they no longer had to get up for work, or when they no longer had to look after the kids or whatever else. Now, people in today's society think very much about what they want out of life. They're very goal orientated. They want to move towards things. So they're very much focused on the future. In the future, I want to do X, Y, and Z. And it's a completely different perception of life and what it has to offer us.
And from what you're saying, it's not just booking the cruise, doing the world trip. It's actually, I've always wanted to be a delivery driver, and I'm going to set up my delivery driving business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I work with many clients who are, approaching that age, and they're thinking, what are my opportunities? What are the options available to me? What can I do with this time? Many people want to do some voluntary work. They all sorts of things that they want to do that they can do, because suddenly they've got this great extended period of time where they're relatively unshackled, to family commitments. They're going to be wealthier and healthier than ever before post 65, and they want to make the most of it.
Are you finding that people are less cautious now as well?
I think, yes, to a certain extent. They certainly see that there are more opportunities available to them. I think one problem, though, is that because retirement per se has become somewhat of a negative thing for people to think about, associated with sort of OAPs and pensioners, for the 45-year-old, it seems very distant and something they don't really want to think about, is that sometimes people don't plan ahead financially for all of these opportunities. So what happens is people sort of want all these things, but then perhaps don't put in place a sound plan to get there. And so one of the things that I call for in the Death of Retirement report is that I'd like people to start thinking more about this third age of their lives, and thinking of it in terms of this great extended vacation when they can do pretty much what they want, but you have to put away for it. And in the same way that people don't have a problem going into the local travel agents, every month, putting away a little bit of money towards the next great holiday they're going to take, they can start to see that in the same way for this third part of their life.
But if someone's planning on having a bit of a career swerve, for instance, in that third age, they're going to be having an income anyway.
Well, that's true, absolutely. But and certainly for some that will be the case. But some people, want to be able to do what they want without it being to make a living. Some people want to do a job just because they love it, or they want want to do voluntary work, or they want to go and work abroad, and they don't want to be doing it because they need to. They want to be doing it because they want to. And I think that's a completely different way of looking at it.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? To be able to afford to retire, but not necessarily to retire in the conventional way we used to view it.
Well, absolutely. And I think that's why a new phrase is very much necessary. I sort of came up with the third age. It sort of makes me think of being a third ager instead of a teenager, if you like, which a lot of people sort of resonate with that. They don't feel old, at that age. They feel young. They've got all this freedom, and they've got a wealth of experience. And let's face it, from a sort of society point of view, how useful this generation is, with all the expertise and, the wealth of knowledge that they have, for us to kind of hang them out to dry and say, right, that's it, you're a pensioner now, put you on the shelf, we're really missing a trick as a society as well.
So just finally, honey, what tips do you have for listeners who want to embrace their retirement or their third age, if we put it like that?
Yeah, okay. Well, the first thing to do really is to think about what you might want to do, is to start creatively thinking about this. What might you want to do if you could wave a magic wand and you didn't have to get up for work and you could do anything you wanted to do and money wasn't an issue? What would you want to do? Those will give you an idea of some of your dreams and goals and aspirations. And then think about, are you putting in place some kind of plan so that you can make those things happen? And also the other tip is that if you'd like to help get some help with making those kinds of decisions, there's a great website that you can go to that's got a decision-making tool on it for you to actually explore some of those options. And that's activemoneysip.com. That's SIPP at the end there, activemoneysip.com.
Okay, honey. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us today. That's Honey Lancaster-James, a consultant psychologist who invented the term third age.